What differentiates a woman who has been cheated on and a man who has been cheated on is the way that they are brought up. You see? So women, for example, they've been brought up to be strong. In fact, somehow, society has given a lot of attention to the girl child, strengthening them, giving them empowerment so that they're able to deal with life.
Hello, Answers family. Welcome to our very first episode of Answers. As we may all know, it is World Suicide Day today. And this is such a timely conversation that I'm going to be having with two incredible people. So let's start by discussing why is it important to talk openly about suicide, and does that help in terms of prevention?
Statistics actually indicate that more than 700,000 people die per year because of suicide, which means it's a very, very sensitive issue, like you've said. And it is important for us to talk about it from a family level to a national level so that people can open up if they've got issues. Because you would find that in keeping them issues to themselves, in maintaining silence, that's when you would find that people burn themselves inside, they suffer alone, and then they end up deciding taking their own lives as the only solution to ending their problems.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's important. It's important to talk about it, so as to demystify the suicide and get more clarity on it, because the current myths and lies that somebody commits suicide when in fact somebody just dies by suicide. When we say commit suicide, we make it appear as if the person deliberately does. So it's important that we talk about it openly so that we demystify the subject, we debunk the myths, the lies, and stereotypes that come around somebody who tries to take their own life. And also, it helps in bringing awareness and education to people that we, as much as possible, we lessen the rates that Shane has already indicated, terrifying rates actually, which indicates that a lot of people are dying, and suicide is actually amongst the top 10 killers of human beings in this world. So I think it's important that we talk about it so that we demystify and we educate people about it.
Yeah, those are shocking statistics. And you see on social media, a lot of people are posting pictures celebrating their birthdays and saying, thanking God for one more year and praying for many more years to come. And then the next thing you see the same person 6 months later, everyone is commenting on the same post, rest in peace, this person has taken their life. What pushes someone to an extent of turning around an expectation where they were expecting and actually asking for a longer life to then shortening their life on their own? And what are some of the red flags, some of the warning signs that can be an indication to some of us so that we can be able to identify these and support some of these people?
Yeah, well, one of the factors, like you said, somebody celebrates their birthday and they're all happy, then the next day or next week they've taken their own life. It just indicates that the person has got a lot of problems that they've not talked about. It indicates the nature of mental illness, that people can actually hide it, that people can actually not show it to the people and show a fake picture. You see, so somebody appears to be happy, but deep down they are eaten. They have a lot of problems that they are suffering from. So what matters is that we should give an ear to people. We should be able to understand the warning signs you've asked about. That becomes very critical, especially when you are dealing with men, because men do not talk about suicide. They don't give threats. They don't talk about it. They just go on to take the action. So you will see that when you're dealing with men, for example, men are 4 times more likely to complete suicide compared to women. Yet women are 4 times more likely to talk about suicide
Okay.
than men. So you see that states women, the fact that they talk about it. Men put on an image that they are happy, everything is fine, but deep down it's bad. And then it becomes important that we understand the warning signs. And just another point before I list some of the warning signs that men, you see, men think about their problems. They don't talk about their problems. While women talk about their problems, they don't think too much about the problems. So talking about problems helps to deal with suicidal thoughts and also to prevent the action of killing once online. Some of the warning signs that are critical to understand when we are dealing with people that we thinking about in their own lives. If you see somebody who talks about feeling hopeless,
Okay.
somebody who talks about feeling lonely and being alone, that person is a potential person who may take their own life. It's another red flag, it's a warning sign. And somebody who talks about I have no reason to go on living, I have no reason to continue living.
Okay.
It's another warning sign that we should check out for. With men, it becomes very important to check out for the more silent, the more hidden warning signs, such as giving away personal possessions. So you see somebody starts to give away their personal possession. The person has got one telephone, one cell phone, sorry, they give it away. The person has got one laptop, they give it away, they give away clothes. Once they're still alive, they're not ill. That's the warning sign. The person is already planning. So people who check their own lives or who commit suicide, they engage in well-planned and well-detailed activities because it's planned. It's not by accident. Okay, so they are things that they do, and one of those things is that they start distributing their personal possessions. People may start to look for ways to do harm, personal harm, such as buying a gun, for example. The person may start to buy gun, buy dangerous medicines and all, and poisons. You should be worried when you see such things happen. They don't just happen by accident. It may be an indication that the person is planning to take their own life. Somebody may start to sleep too much or too little, which is related to depression, also suicide. So sleeping too much or too little is another warning sign that somebody may be thinking about taking their own life. Eating too little or too much, in short, change in behavior. Thinking about engaging in suicide. To avoid interactions, social interactions with others. They no longer interact with others. They no longer talk to family members and friends. Engage in reckless behavior such as excessive alcohol or drug consumption is also another warning sign for suicide. People who express rage and intentions of seeking revenge are also very dangerous people. Somebody who expresses a desire to revenge, that person is likely to take their own life. Or why? Because the moment you start to seek revenge and you fail to achieve that, this the end. You turn the rage inside. So you want to revenge something to me that I've done to you. You express your rage to me, but you fail to do that. You turn the rage inward and you end up taking your own life. So that is another warning sign. Somebody who talks about revenge should be treated with emergency. They need attention. People who have a lot of dramatic mood swings. One minute they are happy, the other moment they are sad. That person is also another potential person who may take their own life. People who talk about suicide as the way out. They find suicide as the only way out. It's just like somebody who then talks about feeling hopeless. They no longer see a reason to live. Also, such kind of a person is potentially going to take their own life. So those are some of the warning signs that that we should look out for in amongst the people that are close to us.
Yeah, and I think that was a very exhaustive list, and we now have a picture of what we need to be able to look out for when someone indicates some of these things. At least pay attention and then engage in conversation. Like what you said, it's important to talk, to discuss. But some of the discussions, we as people who have seen the warning signs, may need to actually start the conversation, because like you said, men will not come out and say, I'm actually going through this. But there are situations where when you're now equipped with the warning signs, you can be able to facilitate the conversation to say, are you okay? Is something going on? And then you can assist someone from there. Shelly, do you want to weigh in on that one?
Yeah, maybe to just add in just one point to what Prof has just said. It is also very critical to take note of some verbal cues. When someone is talking, let us learn to listen to what they are saying, because from listening, we can actually pick that they are indicating their intentions to kill themselves. Because someone may say, manje manje ndienda kusiyai, literally meaning to say, I'll be gone very soon. Meaning to say they are planning actually on killing themselves. So we should not just take those words lightly, but to actually take them seriously and know that they are planning on something, and then we can take action.
And I also just wanted to say, from what Prof was saying, I think it is also important to indicate that there are things that put people at risk of actually committing suicide. We're looking at not medical conditions, just mental health conditions like depression, anxiety. Those things can actually get a person to that level now where they are now saying, Jandine, because depression can really take a toll on someone to the extent that they want to give up on their life. So I think this is also something that we need to pay attention to.
I want to add on to.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Yes, I want to talk about those conditions or environmental issues that can actually cause or trigger someone to then think of suicide. You see, if we take, for example, when children are at school, they go through a lot of things that their parents wouldn't know about if they are not shared. So there's bullying at school, there is stigma, there's a lot of things that happen around children, even people at work. And so if people are not able to deal with those issues, they will consider suicide as an option, because they say, I'm no longer able to stand. I can't be in the face of my friends at school because they're always bullying me. I can't be in the face of my workmates at work because I feel stigmatized. Probably you are obese or something is going on with you, and they attach some labels to you or on you, and you are finding it very difficult to continue within such an environment. So knowing what to do when you are in such a situation is very critical, because instead of just thinking of ending your life, you've got options, you've got tools of how you can deal with your situation.
It is so sad that people, each and every one of us, we can either be a precipitative factor, a person that actually pushes someone to the extent of taking their life, or we can be a protective factor. And I think it is a challenge to each and every one of us to try to be protective factors, a person who preserves life other than drive someone to the extent of wanting to take their life. So thank you so much for that contribution. And we have so many situations where when a suicide happens, people start to comment and say, angavazhura ira izvozvo, as meaning, why did they take their life for such an insignificant issue? Is that what does that do? What does that mean? Is that a correct perception from people when they evaluate a cause and belittle it to that extent to say, that was not worth it?
Okay, you see, what happens is that the weight of a problem can only be felt by the one who is experiencing it. So I think it's irrational for people to say because they don't know how much that problem that they may be going through has been on them. Instead of them reaching out to them for them to help them out, okay, or finding ways of helping them go through their challenges or their experiences, it may seem to other people as if it's quite minor, but it won't be that minor. But what I would just suggest is that when someone is going through a challenge, let's not undermine their experiences or how they feel about it, because that's why sometimes people may choose not to share, because you regard their issues or challenges as very trivial, as very minor, is not worth discussing, yet they are actually killing them or they are actually disturbing their day-to-day activities. So giving an ear to someone, no matter how small an issue is, it is important, because you wouldn't know how much help you would have offered to that particular person by just redirecting their thoughts, by just help them shape their perspectives in a way that is healthier than just taking their lives up.
I think that's important. Is it correct to say suicide is a sign of cowardice, an inability to face difficult situations head on and solve them on your own?
So, first of all, I want to put it into context. Suicide and suicidal behavior, it's a mental health condition. It's mental illness, okay? And I want to highlight that until we treat mental illness like we do a broken foot, we aren't there yet. Okay. And unless we start to treat mental illness, unless we start to treat suicidal behavior the way we treat somebody who has a broken foot, who has a broken hand, we are not yet there yet. Now, person who has got suicidal behavior, who take their own lives, is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it's a cry for help. So somebody who talks about taking their own life, who gives threats, as some may want to call them, that they want to take their own life, is crying out for help. They want you to assist them. They want some attention from you so that you help them. So in reference to the question that you had asked Shirley, hakuna munhu anenge hakusi kuzviitisa. Okay, it's like somebody who says kunzwa mudumbu woti unganzwa mudumbu nekungodya zvinhu zvakaora chete ina handinzwi mudumbu wani. You see, if somebody is in pain, is in pain. Okay, pain hainzwiranwi, mumwe nomumwe anonzwa pain zvakasiyana. So that's very important to understand that the pain that somebody is facing and suffering from is best understood by that person. Hakusi kuzviitisa. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength if somebody is calling out for help. It is on our part as community and society and close friends and relatives who are weak if we cannot assist somebody who is calling out for help.
Okay. Thank you for that, Prof. And I think that's very important. So what differentiates Peter and Tom? Peter's wife cheated on him. Tom's wife cheated on him. Peter decides to take his life, but Tom moves on. He's already now on his second marriage, already married and with kids. What is it that differentiates these two people from the context of what you just shared?
What differentiates these people is how they are brought up. It's how their coping mechanisms, how they cope with life. In order for you to clearly understand that, I'll put it in a very more extreme situation. What differentiates a woman who has been cheated on and a man who has been cheated on is that the way that they are brought up. You see, so women, for example, they've been brought up to be strong. In fact, somehow society has given a lot of attention to the girl child, strengthening them, giving them empowerment so that they're able to deal with life. So you see that the girl child is taught that you have to be strong. Dzimba dzinotoona matiro mwana wangu usadaro, varume ava ndozvavanoita, varume ava imbwa, and all that. All that teaching helps the women to prepare for adversities of life. Unfortunately, men do not have that kind of teaching. Men are taught that, you are the macho man, you're strong, everything should work out, and don't cry. Men don't cry, boys don't cry. So what happens is that indeed they don't cry, but they cry inside and they end up taking their own life. So you see, men are not prepared for the adversities of life. When they are cheated on, or even not even cheated on, when they suspect that they have been cheated on, it's good enough for them to take their own life. You see, because they've never been prepared for that. They don't know that such things happen. The girl child knows that. As they are growing up, they know that they've been trained for that. They're strong. So what we see is that we now have girls and women who are much stronger than boys and men, much stronger mentally. Their psyche is so strong. They are prepared for adversities. So going back to the example of Peter and John, it just depends with how strong their psyche. So Peter's psyche could be strong. They're prepared for adversities. They've been trained for that. They know that these things happen. They're prepared for all of that. And when it happens, they're expecting it. So the other side, the other guy is not. He thinks that life's all rosy, but life is never like that.
Shirley, you're a parent. How are you parenting your children? You have a girl child and you've got a boy child.
Yes.
Are you dealing with them differently? How are you doing it? Are you doing it the way Doc has just mentioned?
I think where we are right now, we are more enlightened than the generations before, because through learning and experiences, we've actually turned out to be better than our parents. So yes, what Prof is saying is very true. We have seen that and it is true with the older generations. But this day, we are actually sitting our children down, be it a boy or a girl, and we are equipping them to face life in the same manner. Because you see, whatever a girl is experiencing, it is the same as boys. So it would be very unfair for a parent to equip one side and not taking care of the other side. Because at the end of the day, you want to be all responsible, mature adults who are capable of taking life seriously and, moving in the right direction and making very good judgments and decisions.
I like this because it also brings another point to light that says the family is also a strong protective factor when it comes to issues of suicide. How we teach our kids, how we bring them up, the resilience that we build inside them, and also being there for them when they go through crisis can actually become a protective factor, something that protects them from even then going to have suicidal thoughts. So thank you for that input. Now we have someone who is actually contemplating suicide. They've got strong suicidal ideation. What message can you share, Shirley, to someone who is going through something like that?
I'll start with the family from which this person is coming from. As a family, we need to provide a very strong support system. So it is very critical for the family members and friends around this person to see what their relative or their friend is going through. If they can't help him or her at a family level, then they would have to take it up, look for professional help. Psychologists are available, social workers are available. Even at clinic level, you can actually find people there ready to assist. Yes.
Prof, you work in an education setup. You also work in the private practice. Have you come across some of these issues, and how have you dealt with? What strategies have you given people who've been who've shown signs of suicidal ideations or suicidal behavior? How have you assisted some of these, if you have experienced it?
Yeah, indeed, these cases come regularly, and the underlying factor that I've seen when these cases come is that the person has lost hope. Okay, and yet hope is the energy of life. So what we just need to do is to give the person hope, understand that one, they have to find someone to share with their problems. Sometimes you see we cloud ourselves in a lot of problems because we really never shared with anybody. So the advice that we usually give them is try to share. Let's talk about it. Let's hear the side that is depressing you, the things that are worrying you. You may realize that there could be a solution somewhere. One, two, you could realize that even if you don't get a solution from somebody, but just sharing it helps to lighten the burden. Also, try to look at the positive side. The other thing is that when people get into suicidal behaviors, because they're only looking at one side, there's no one side to life and events. There are always two sides to it, or more than two sides to it. So look at the other side. Don't just focus on one side, and try to find hope. Try to find some light in every situation that you find yourself in. So talking about problems, sharing, and trying to find some hope and some light in every situation usually helps. a lot.
Mm. And I like what you're saying because it also applies to someone who is not even experiencing suicide or ideation, but within the context of of their lives, these are some of the strategies that they can use to actually have good mental health, well-being, all of the points that you applied there. But what are some of the self-care strategies, some of the coping mechanisms that one can also incorporate within their everyday lives so that they reduce the risk of even having suicidal ideation at all?
Mhm. So I've seen a lot of people who get into suicidal behavior is because they try to worry too much about things that are beyond their control.
Mm.
The first and most important tip that I want to give is that you need to learn to focus on what you can control. You
Okay.
get so worried and got so worked up because you are worried about things that are beyond your control. For
Mm.
example, your past is beyond your control. Your future is
Mm.
beyond your control. There are
Mm.
things that you can do today. The things that you can control. The things that you can control are the things that will give you confidence because you have control over them. Such things are your thoughts, your responses, self-awareness, how you treat others, your words, for example, all those things you can do. So what my advice is that, whenever you're faced with a situation that boggles you, that troubles you, try to look at it and see, is it something that is within my control or it's out of my control? If it is out of my control, then you don't have to worry about it because even if you worry about it, you're not going to change anything. But if it is within your control, what is it that you can do? Then do it. Okay. So I think that one is a very important principle. Another thing also is that we people take their own life because they've been disappointed. Why are people disappointed? Because they don't manage expectations. So it is important that we learn to manage our expectations. Okay, those who do statistics and all, they know that when you are calculating, you always leave 5% room for error, 10% room for error. When you are using a calculator or a computer, now think about it. When you are dealing with human beings, who think in a way that you have no control over, what room for error should you leave? I think 50% and above. If you leave 50% room for error when dealing with people, you will not be disappointed too much because you'll be expecting it anyway, that they will disappoint you. So that is also a very important, a very important tip that I may want to share with you. People should also learn to exercise. Those things, exercising, listening to music, those are things that generate the happy hormones in simple terms, the hormones that makes us feel happy most of the time and deal with challenges in life most of the time. And that is very critical. Sleeping, simple things like sleeping, dedicate at least 6 hours to 8 hours every 24 hours for sleeping, resting. It helps to energize the body, to create the energy that you need for the next day. And that is very important for our mental health, and that is very important for us to not to get involved into things that may harm us and consider taking our own lives. Be kind to yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. Learn to treat yourself well. You're the most important person in your life. Don't judge yourself too much. People don't even judge you that much anyway. People are not even worried too much about you anyway. That you say, vanhu vanozoti kudii, vanhu vanozoti vana havana kana basa newe, vanotori nezvavo zviri kuvanetsa. So you see, it's important that you focus on yourself, be kind to yourself, don't be too harsh, don't be too hard on yourself. It's something which is also very important. Learn to shut down. I know people are working a lot, they work a lot, they do a lot. Learn to shut down, to say, no, this time for resting. Create time for the family. Don't let work come home unless if home goes to work. Okay, things at work should remain at work and things at home should remain at home. That is very important. So that self-care bit is very critical. I think I could share that bit. It may help one or two people.
Thank you, Prof. And to you, Shirley, what support is available, in fact, to families that have lost a loved one through suicide?
I think the best thing for such people is to look for therapists and psychologists, like I mentioned before. Yes, they are all over. Maybe from grassroots level, people can go to their nearest mental health clinics. They can go to psychiatrists, psychologists in town.
I just want to go through a few questions that have been sent through on our platform. from people that are also going through the same issues that we were discussing. So this person says, "Hi, Answer's family. I have a 17-year-old teenager who is antisocial and always on her phone in her room. She will get moody at anything that will distract her from her phone. I have taken her phone away and she became angry and started threatening to commit suicide. So I gave it back to her and she promised she would not kill herself. How do I get her off the phone without resistance?" I wanted to just also, because there have been a lot of comments that have been coming through. How do we separate, or should we separate facts from threats when it comes to issues to do with suicide, where someone is actually threatening to commit suicide, or are there any situations where it's being done as a form of manipulation to push someone to achieve a certain goal?
All right. I think what is important is to note that any suicidal behavior, any threat, as you may put it, is a psychiatric emergency. So somebody who talks about taking their own life should be treated as an emergency because they are crying out for help. They need assistance. So it's not like or anything. Let's treat that as an emergency. Let's try to find out what is it that is troubling that person, that we're able to give them the relevant help. The fact that they're always stuck on their phone and all, it's a symptom that there's something dysfunctional. As a family, as parents, we need to treat that. Let's create time with our children. Let's take them out. Let's talk to them. It's a psychiatric emergency. We need to give them attention.
Okay, Shirley, what help is available to a person who is going through something like this, to this child? From what Prof is saying, this is a critical issue. What can this parent do to help their child?
Yeah, just like I've mentioned before, it is important for them to see a psychologist because indeed this child really needs help. There's a lot, like Prof has just said, there's a lot that this child could be going through that the parents are not aware of. And once they find themselves in the presence of a psychologist, they'll be able then to tell what can be done to assist this child to go through whatever they're going through, and also to find help so that they can live a more healthier life.
All right, thank you for that input. So my last and final question is from someone. They've posted that nyaya yangu goes like this: I've been hurt so many times, you name it, kuva kuma friends, relatives, but I told myself it's written in a lot of shorthand, so forgive me, but I told myself I'm going to tolerate everything, but it has been eating me every day to the extent I smile for 2 minutes, the next I'm sad. I don't want to talk to anyone. Sometimes I want to scream, cry, but I can't scream or cry anymore. But I'm angry all the time. It's like no one understands me. They want to tell me what they think I'm going through without listening to what I have to say. If I tell someone something, they twist it, which hurts me the most. I have to take the blame and apologize for something I didn't do wrong. I can't express what I feel, and I think I'm always wrong. It has come to a point where I can't take it anymore and I want to commit suicide. What must I do to make myself feel better?
I think this person needs to talk to someone urgently. Okay, let them find someone that they can talk to urgently. If there's no one close to them, that's where it's necessary for them to call us on the numbers that we have given them. We will give them an ear to listen to. The immediate solution for this person is to share their problem. I think let them find somebody that they can talk to lessen the burden.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Shirley, do you want to add on this one?
I can't say it better than what the Prof has just said, because it seems this person is actually shut down or shut up. No one is ready to listen to her, and she feels like she is, so restricted that the only way out is to take away her life. So she really needs to pour out. She really needs to open up. So she is looking for an ear that is ready to listen.